owned the rifle that was used to fire the shots from the 6th floor window of the southeast corner of the Texas School Book Depository building. Lee Harvey Oswald, shortly before the assassination, had access to and was present on the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository building, and Lee Harvey Oswald's other actions tend to support the conclusion that he assassinated President Kennedy. However, scientific acoustical evidence establishes a probability that 2 gunmen fired at President John F. Kennedy. Other scientific evidence does not preclude the possibility of 2 gunmen fired at the president. Scientific evidence negates some specific conspiracy allegations. The committee believes, on the basis of the evidence available to it, that President John F. Kennedy was probably assassinated as a result of a conspiracy. But this is a funny thing about this. The committee is unable to identify the other gunman or the extent of the conspiracy. So they're covering their butts, right? Who do they not want involved in the assassination of the president in 1979? They don't want to come out, right? Okay, what's that? Okay, so here's what they say. The committee believes, on the basis of the evidence available to it, that the Soviet Union was not involved in the assassination of President Kennedy. The committee believes, on the basis of the evidence available to it, that the Cuban government was not involved in the assassination of President Kennedy. The committee believes, on the basis of the evidence available to it, that anti-Castro Cuban groups as groups were not involved in the assassination of President Kennedy, but that the available evidence does not preclude the possibility that individual members may have been involved. And the committee believes, on the basis of the evidence available to it, that the National Syndicate of Organized Crime, or the Mafia, as a group was not involved in the assassination of President Kennedy, but that the evidence available does not preclude the possibility that individual members might have been involved. What does that tell you? They don't know. And they're really succumbing to public pressure, but they surely want everybody out there to know that the Russians weren't involved, the Cubans weren't involved, and the Mafia wasn't involved. But they're saying, as a group they weren't involved, but there might have been some rogue agent of each individual group that was part of that. Well, anyway, as recent as 2015, approximately 70% of the American people believe the assassinations of both President John F. Kennedy and Lee Harvey Oswald were part of a conspiracy. And the only thing I'll end with today is, for 54 years, I've said this before, for 54 years, conspiracy theorists have been trying to get non-conspiracy theorists to prove there was a conspiracy to kill a president. I mean, who can keep a secret for 54 years? I mean, really, if there was another shooter on the grassy knoll, or there was some sort of a conspiracy that somebody helped Oswald, or Oswald did not act alone, who can keep a secret for that long? And they always say, well, Oswald was killed by Ruby to do what? Silence him. Well, who's going to kill Ruby to silence him about what he did? And then who's going to kill the guy that killed Ruby to silence him about what he did? And who's going to kill the guy that killed the guy that killed Ruby? You see what I'm saying? It just goes on and on and on. So I'm not a big advocate of that. I want you to make up your own mind. But that's kind of where we're at, and that's the end of it. I'm going to put in a video that says 50 questions about the Kennedy assassination, and I want to see if you guys can answer any of them, because if you can't, we wasted a long period of time. Any questions about it? And we will Monday move on to Lyndon Johnson. Tuesday. Okay, I want you guys paying attention and answering these questions.